So let's kick things off. Some of y'all might end up remembering that last time that we played Alchemy, I was pretty into this Esper Aggro list because it was a pretty good combination of strong against the most popular decks at the time, and I don't know what the most popular decks are anymore, but also pretty easy to pick up and learn quickly. And we were trying to figure out what to play for the Arena Qualifier weekend on very short notice. This time, I am approaching Alchemy with a little over 2 weeks of prep time, actually, before the Arena Open. And that means that the benefit of this deck being super easy to learn is not as relevant, but I did want to start by retouching it. One, because I understand it kind of well enough, and it'll be a good place to sort of dive back into the format from as I attempt to learn what sort of new decks are popularized. 2 sets, I believe, have come out since I last played this format. We cut 2 removal spells that were just unconditional removal spells for 2 Patriar's Humiliations. My logic for that being, I believe there is a larger focus on weird combo decks with persist creatures or something like that. And Patriar's Humiliation is weird combos with creatures that have perpetual abilities, not persist. And Patriar's Humiliation, I think, is a relatively cheap removal spell that sort of answers that should be relatively flexible in other spots and isn't embarrassing against Sheoldred. I don't know. We'll see. The other main thing is we are trying out replacing the Elspeth Resplendents that were in this list, the 5-mana Planeswalker that can give creatures flying and lifelink, with Gix's Command. And the reason we're doing that is because the primary goal of Elspeth previously was to give you a edge against the Rakdos Sacrifice lists, which, to jump back in time, was the matchup this deck was very good against and the primary reason for playing this deck, in my prior opinion. And basically what Elspeth did was create a giant lifelinker that they couldn't chump block because you would give something flying and lifelink. So that that required one of a couple of different things. You either had to be giving lifelink to a flyer, like Raffine, or flying to a lifelinker, like nothing. I guess Specialized Klement has lifelink. Or you had to spend 2 turns upticking Elspeth before you actually could pivot in a meaningful way. And that was functional. Nothing about that was bad. Like, Elspeth was strong enough that we were including Elspeth for specifically that game plan, and Elspeth had really strong synergy with Temporary Lockdown, which was the major sideboard plan against them. So what I want to test is whether Gix's Command is a meaningful improvement. We lose out on the Temporary Lockdown synergy, and we lose out on the permanent lifelink. But Gix's Command does one really interesting thing compared to Elspeth, which is Gix's Command does not take 2 turns to create a big life point pivot like Elspeth did. Because what Gix's Command does is, against all of their chump blockers that they can sacrifice to invalidate lifelink, you just blow up all of those creatures, and they can't really make creatures at instant speed on your turn. And you get to put 2 +1/+1 counters on something and give it lifelink for 1 turn, not permanently, which is a downside. But on stuff that has double strike, like Lae'zel, or stuff that already has flying and lifelink, like Angel of Unity, that could be really interesting. And it also means you have a really, really good removal spell for Mires, where Gix's Command is a pretty effective way to remove Lae'zel because it doesn't have to target. It's a pretty decent answer to Sheoldred. lets you grind if needs be by returning a bunch of creatures, which is much stronger in a format with perpetual buffs. So I do think Gix's command will probably, on the whole of things, be worse against red-black, but I'm interested to see whether it gains points in other matchups. I expect it's probably better than Elspeth in the Mire, but we'll have to test that. That's the major objective for today. Good evening, Chris. What's your favorite card in this deck? I really enjoy playing with Lae'zel. Like, it's a very powerful busted magic card for the most part, but it's also... it's very satisfying. It's kind of like Fable in Fable of the Mirror in that it's a card that's probably stronger than it needs to be, and probably more difficult to answer than it needs to be, but it also feels like it creates a lot of interesting decisions, which I don't know if that's part and parcel of being a powerful card. Certainly there's a lot of powerful cards that don't create a lot of interesting decision making. So, I don't know. It's a cool design. It's fun to play with. I dig it. Let's see. So I have messed with the sideboard a little bit as well. I put a pile of extraction specialists in the board. I actually suspect that might be really good against mono red, what with their propensity for killing your 2-drops, especially the ones that have lifelink. And then you just like get to play extraction specialist as a 4/3 lifelinker a lot of the time. And it's sort of resilient to their card that steals stuff from you. They have 3 mana threaten. You just get to chump block the extraction specialist with whatever 2-drop you brought back with extraction specialist, because extraction specialist's text that stops a creature from blocking only lasts as long as you control it, not as long as it's in play. So if they threaten the specialist, you just get to block with whatever the specialist got back. That's cute, you know? I don't know. I also slightly messed with the mana base, cut a Forsaken Crossroads, added a Plaza of Heroes. I think more experience in Standard has kind of led me to believe that Plaza of Heroes just is way more of an upside because of the ability than I had believed at the time, and that the mana is easier to handle than I thought it was at the time. We're kind of just looking at enough white sources that we can still play our Angel of Unity on turn 2 pretty trivially regardless. So it also means one less tap land when we're on the play, which might be relevant. But with all that said, let's dive into it. Find a match. Esper Aggro. Ranked. Nope. Alchemy ranked best of 3. Esper Aggro. Here we go. I will confess in advance, I am a little worried we're not going to get very good testing data. Because I'm not sure if anybody is going to be on the Alchemy ladder trying particularly hard. I really hope that's not somebody in silver. Yeah, there might not be a lot of people on the Alchemy ladder, which might complicate this. This is, interestingly, also a point to note. If you want to get rank 1 in an arena ladder, or rather the constructed ladder, it's not terribly hard to get really, really high up in the ranks by playing formats that nobody practices competitively. Because you just kind of get pretty lopsided matchups very frequently. Yeah. Alright, this could turn out to be an issue. Let's see. What are we discarding here? I am pretty sure that I just want to discard the Patriar's Humiliation in this spot and play the Lae'zel next turn. Could play the Sigardian Evangel, which maybe is better than getting a life-linking Lae'zel, but yeah, I don't know. Oh dear. Does this perpetually give lifelink? No, it gets a lifelink counter. That's an interesting difference. Hell, do I want to trade off with Circuit Mender? I guess I don't. So I guess we wait on this? Discard Raffine, get back Raffine, see if they have a removal spell in response. They don't. Okay, well. Let's tap down Circuit Mender. What do you do? Nothing, just make a 1/1? Okay. If they want to chump block, I want them chumping with the flyer. Put more counters on Lae'zel. Let's just go ahead and put as many counters on Lae'zel as we can. I'm not sure this is going to be representative of anything, unfortunately. It would be interesting if they had an option to opt into matchmaking that more heavily prioritizes close MMR, and just to, like, say, I'm willing to wait longer. I agree. Opponent's deck does seem to possibly be limited. Like, literally limited. Let's just put a bunch of stuff on the flyer. I think I want my flyer doing as much damage as possible. I probably should be Patriar's Humiliationing the Circuit Mender here, but maybe I want to let him double block. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of stopped thinking. I agree that this is not necessarily the most productive use of time. However, I do also kind of want to get to rank 1 at some point in the next week, if I'm going to be grinding a bunch of Alchemy. So we gotta win. I suppose in that sense I could actually try to play a little faster. Okay, thank you, opponent. I've kind of got it beaten into me as a habit by myself that I will never, ever, ever not take a game seriously until I hit the concede button. Mostly that's born out of years of playing Control and trying to claw back victories from the absolute precipice of defeat. But maybe it also means just being willing to claw victory from the absolute precipice of victory. Let's see. I probably don't need to do very much sideboarding. I suppose I'm probably supposed to mulligan relatively aggressively for, like, any functional hand and not take risks about, like, keeping hands with low amounts of lands, huh? Well, that's a functional amount of cards. I've definitely seen very, very good games happen during, at low ranks in Limited. And they don't never happen in Constructed. But they do tend to be a little rarer. I probably didn't want to play this, or put this on Diviner of Fates, because if they kill my Raffine, I'm actually limited on blue. Would have rather put the counter on Tenacious Underdog for that reason, I think. Lae'zel was fun, though. Lae'zel's always fun, though. So, probably getting rid of Cut Down. Crossroads, gonna come into play tapped because we were on the play. As long as Raffine is still alive, we can play Diviner of Fates, no problem. Did they miss a land drop? Or did they choose to be on the draw? I don't think they missed a land drop, so I think they chose to be on the draw. Oh, hey, this is almost a constructed deck. For that matter, Tramway Station is not a Kamigawa card. So this is not a limited deck, right? Or not necessarily a limited deck? Let's get rid of Angel, and honestly, I think Crossroads, probably. Don't really need the extra land, and I don't strongly need the extra counter on the Angel of Unity either. We'll probably start buffing the Tenacious Underdog now that we can actually blitz it for more damage. Voltage Surge, sacking the 1/1. We will elect to blink the Lae'zel, because this card is very good and just gets to do that for free. Alright, opponent's deck is looking like a constructed deck. Seeing a lot less colorless artifacts from Limited, at the very least. I don't think that's what they wanted to do, but okay. Let's see how to sequence this. Creatures in the graveyard, 1. Let's go ahead and discard Diviner of Fates to try to push through some damage. And then hope we draw a black source. Or not even a black source, we have a black source. Hope we draw literally any untapped land. Nope, just a Diviner of Fates. What a shame. Alright, so no blitzing Tenacious Underdog then. And I wonder, did we have lethal? Do we still have lethal? Might have had lethal if I had just blitzed the Underdog. This is what happens when you don't actually count anything. Nope, not lethal. Probably was lethal if we had just blitzed the Underdog, though. Because activating Diviner was, what, 2 additional damage? Blitzing Underdog was that same 2 additional damage by virtue of an additional counter. I guess I could have drawn all lands. Let's discard a land. Okay. Well, now we're above the 1,000 mark, which usually, anecdotally, seems to result in more aggressive matchmaking. So we're gonna hope that's the case. If we get too many more matches like that, we might have to figure out a slightly different plan. That kind of reminds me of what happens when I try to play Standard on MTGO. I attempted to grind qualifier points through ladder, and that was not a good idea. Event Alchemy might have stronger opposition. That's true. Wouldn't have the fun of grinding towards rank 1, but I suppose the entire reason that grinding towards rank 1 in Alchemy is appealing at all is that it's kind of busted. And it's busted in a way that makes for bad testing. Well, that's platinum. Huh. This is a bizarre hand for this deck. Let's keep it and see what happens. Okay, that's an Ashnod. Sure. We're gonna be a weird control deck this game, which is gonna give our opponent some awkward impressions for sideboarding. Are we running Kalem? No. Kalem's kind of much too slow for what this deck is doing. This is very, very much an aggressive deck. Yeah, Patriar, sure. Oh, Ashnod's a cute card for red-black sacrifice. You actually have a lot of uses for the Power Stone tokens, and you care about sacrificing your stuff for free. I dig it. Let's see. I could play Raffine because playing Raffine is good, but now that I have the Lae'zel, I kind of want to not play the Raffine because discarding black 3-drop creatures to Lae'zel is the best of all worlds. Brushstroke's annoying. Ob Nixilis is moderately annoying. Oh, Anointed Peacekeeper and Ob Nixilis basically just, like, the hardest counters all Ob Nixilises of any planeswalker you could name. It taxes both the copies. That's delightful. I mean, I think in this case, I'm just gonna name Sheoldred and make the 2 copies of Sheoldred that they have deeply, deeply unhappy. I have Gix's command to answer Sheoldred, but I can only answer 1, so honestly, even if they loot 1 away here, that's still sort of a victory for me. Ob Nixilis gets to make a 1/1 and do a tiny ping. We will be declining. Ooh. It's a great time to drop Plaza of Heroes. Alright. Well, I could actually kill this Ob Nixilis by using Cut Down, but I'd rather just play Lae'zel. Jump block happens, sure. Only 3 Diviner Fates. Yeah, this deck, like, Diviner of Fates gives you the ability to engage in some interesting grindiness, but it's also not super effective at being aggressive, which is most of this deck's game plan. If Ob Nixilis manages to kill me, I will be deeply, deeply impressed.
is my entertainment. Defy me.
Because by and large, my expectation is that I'm just going to kill the Obnixiluses here. Ooh, okay, Blood Tithe Harvester doesn't die to Gix's command. There's something. Let's see. I guess I could just choose not to Gix's command this turn. I don't really need to gain the life, so that's fine. We could just cut down, reanimate Raffine. Play one Sigardian Evangel and kill both Obnixiluses? Or I could leave them the Blood Tithe Harvester? Play both Sigardian Evangels? I think I'd rather reanimate a Raffine than play two Sigardian Evangels. Oh, right, especially because I don't need to get a benefit by playing the second Sigardian Evangel. I can just discard the second Sigardian Evangel to Raffine, and that's card advantage. Right. I'm slowly remembering how this deck works. Do 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 do. Poke, poke. Put counters on the Lae'zel so that our Gix's command gets to be completely busted in half. Discard this, discard... I don't know. Does any of this matter, Klement? If Harvester sacks and targets Lae'zel, does Lae'zel blink? I'm fairly certain yes.
Wipe that smug look off your face.
Yes, you may choose to exile Lae'zel at that point, because that is an ability an opponent controls. And yes, Lae'zel is completely busted. Like, horrifically so. Alright, so let's see. If we were to Gix's command here and put the counters on Lae'zel, opponent gains 3 life, we lose 3 life. Do 14, 20. So the opponent actually does stay alive. But this still seems mostly good. Oh, I guess, what happens if I put the counters on Raffine to keep Raffine alive? We gain a lot less life, but then we actually get to put a bunch of counters on Lae'zel with the Raffine trigger. And we don't give them an extra point of life? I don't know if that's correct. But let's find out. Hypothetically, I could, like, do math here or something. Doot, 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 doot. That's probably lethal, right? Yeah, okay. That's lethal. Huh. Well, that was a fairly good showing for Gix's command, although I suspect that Elspeth also would have just won that game in this scenario pretty handily regardless. Okay, so here's where things get a little interesting. Our sideboard plan, our old sideboard plan against Red-Black is now a lot worse, because we would bring in 4 temporary lockdowns, cut a bunch of 2-drops, and play like mid-range control with Elspeths, and Elspeth being able to downtick to grab temporary lockdown was a major part of the deck's game plan. And now we don't have Elspeth, which does make that part harder. So... What were the other 4 cards that we brought in? Did I just keep in removal? Is that what I did? I guess Patriar's Humiliation isn't... Oh, I kept in more removal that could actually hit Sheoldred, which I have now cut because I just decided I wanted to be playing Patriar's Humiliation instead of Sheoldred removal. I'm fairly certain that's probably what happened. I don't know. We'll play Viconia. That's probably a bad idea, but... I forget what the actual plan here used to be. And this plan at least can't be terribly bad. I did not want 3 Patriar's Humiliations and no creatures, though. That is... not... terribly ideal. Keep? This is fine. Nothing can go wrong. Okay. Well, that's the best and or second best 2-drop that we could have drawn. Choose an artifact or creature card. No, my creatures! And they get exiled? No! Oh, that's so deeply unfair. Huh. And they have priority here, too. So I can't just discard something to Klement to seek a card like I would have liked to. What I'd really... I think I still just have to go for this. Which means I should have done it pre-combat, probably. I'm really far away from casting that Gix's command. Yeah, and then they just have a removal spell. Yeah. I mean, a 5-drop that I'm not casting is not the most of a loss to get removed from my hand. Okay. Well, why did they take the Anointed Peacekeeper instead of the Diviner of Fates? That's kind of wild. Well, alright. They get back a 1-drop. Doesn't mean too much to me. Clement. Continue buffing Diviner of Fates. Which is awkward, because we're getting close to wanting to discard Diviner of Fates. Occult Anvil, sure. Alright, well, this at least could be worse. I guess we're gonna hang on to the Diviner of Fates now, since Sheoldred's even less castable than Diviner of Fates. Weirdly enough, 1 Klement is kind of an army in a bottle, so this is still somehow actually almost okay. Yeah, Death Touch, am I okay with that? I guess I'm not. Is it easy for you to remember all the specialized card modes? Alchemy is hard to follow. It's pretty close to a lot of other Magic stuff where it's really weird at first, but then, like, you put in, like, a week of practice and you start to remember them all. Like, I don't know what the red Klement or the green Klement do, but I know what the 3 Esper Klements do because it comes up relatively often. The blue one is card advantage, the white one's life link, the black one is Tiny Grave Titan. Yeah, I think I'm okay with this trade, and I want to save the Patriar's Humiliation. Specifically, one of the cards we have a lot of copies of in the deck that I can actually cast is the 4 temporary lockdowns, and that's going to get rid of my zombie tokens anyway. So I'd rather have Patriar's Humiliation to hamstring an opposing Sheoldred. Black Source is delightful. Play Diviner of Fates, draw a card, discard a card. I really want that Raffine so that we can discard stuff later on, so we're just going to discard a land, tutor a land. Plaza of Harmony is... or Plaza of Heroes, rather, is totally fine and not terrible. Actually lets us cast a Sheoldred off the top, too. Opponent kind of flooding out, which is great for us. There's some real Magic cards. I sort of don't want to get rid of this. Okay, thank you, opponent, for making me not make tough decisions. The temporary lockdown would be really valuable if they had another Oni Cult Anvil, although probably wouldn't be super necessary. Yeah, it was probably correct to get rid of the temporary lockdown and just, like, presume that I'm going to win if they have another Oni Cult Anvil anyway. Patriar's Humiliation I don't think I was allowed to get rid of because I needed an answer to Sheoldred, especially I needed to make sure that we could answer Sheoldred when we had Raffine in play. And it doesn't really matter whether we kill Sheoldred with Patriar's Humiliation or not. The important thing is just so that I don't lose 2 life every time I attack with a creature. The alternative would be that we could, like, get rid of the Lae'zel rather than temporary lockdown, which feels bad because Lae'zel's amazing, but also might have been the correct thing to get rid of just because both of the other cards filled a useful role. But yeah, I think temporary lockdown actually just wasn't necessary here, so we were going to get rid of 2 lands in a lockdown. I believe that would be the correct decision. Still, that was much better testing. Opponent was playing actual decks and was playing them competently. Okay, no blue source for our 3-drops. We're on the draw. We have Raffine, which means plazas make blue. If this Sigardian Evangel was any other 2-drop in the deck, I would be pretty excited to keep. As it stands, I think I'm supposed to mulligan that. I definitely can't keep this. This is a reasonable 5. I say it's a reasonable 5, but I think I need to just keep 2 lands and hope to top deck the 3rd land. 3rd land that's tapped isn't super ideal. Do you compile stats to analyze for after streams, like look at win rates, etc., or do you just use your impressions for how cards played / felt during matches? I do occasionally look at the data that Untapped stores for win rates, but mostly that's just like half fun, half clickbait. It is much more reasonable, or it is much more valuable data to me to get my impressions. Like, I can have a deck go 3 and 6, and if the matches felt like... what's the right way to put it? I think I do play Diviner of Fates here, so that I can draw another card with Raffine next turn, rather than just playing Raffine here. I want to get rid of Caves. We've already got our 4th untap land. We get a 5th untap land. Holding onto the Raffine's Tower actually has value because it discards to specialize. Ooh, and that even fizzles the Molten Impact. Oh no. Poor opponent. Yeah. I will occasionally feel like a deck has a lot of potential, even if it's losing, or conversely, feel like a deck has potential, or has very little potential, even if it's winning. The vast majority of the time, I would say the win rate tends to line up with my perception of how a day's testing went, but not always. Yeah. Opponents certainly got a curve here that would make me scared if they were making any land drops. Okay. I mean, my hand isn't good either, opponent. You were not necessarily out of that yet. Is Grixis a good example of that? It wins a lot, but you don't think it's the best deck in Standard? Grixis is perhaps an example of a deck actually winning about as much as I think it is. Which is to say, I win like 70% with Grixis, and that's about in line with what I would expect. But I don't think... If I'm winning 70% of my matches with a deck, that usually is a good sign to me that, like, okay, this is a solid, viable deck, but it's probably not great. If... For a deck to start standing out to me as, okay, this is actually performing great, it usually needs to be like 80% or above. Once I've played like 15 or 20 matches. What will usually happen is, like, if a deck at that point is winning like 58, 60, slightly above 60% in that range, that's when I have to start going, okay, I feel like this deck has a lot of potential. But am I fooling myself, and is that not actually working out in practice because we're not winning very much? Go get Kitty. All right, we can get Kitty. We're playing against werewolves. Am I supposed to play Temporary Lockdown against werewolves? I don't think so. I think maybe we just ship this back. All right, we'll just ship it back. Be right back. Alright, this looks like a significantly better than a mulligan to 5 hand. We would probably prefer more creatures, but that's fine. There's technically more creatures. Diviner Fate is like probably the last creature I want against aggro, but it's functional. That's something. Little bit of buffs. Cabaret revels in werewolves. Okay, so opponent is ever so slightly slow. What do we do here? I'm probably supposed to pay a life to play Diviner of Fates. I can probably get rid of Anointed Peacekeeper to put an actual body in play. As for whether I'm supposed to attack with Klement or not, I don't really know enough about their deck. I feel like they could have a pretty large amount of hasters. No, Hilda's not a haster. Cabaret Rebel's getting Tenacious Pup is at least pretty cute. 3 power, Trample, Vigilance, First Strike. Moderately concerning. Although we get at least a fairly interesting Gix's command next turn. You're on the draw, right? Right, so we can Gix's command next turn to wipe their board. Ideally speaking, we'd like to get all of our creatures' powers above 2, which I believe means that what I'm going to do is Sigardian Evangel, tap Rahilda, play Caves, specialize Klement into white for the lifelinking benefit, discarding this Sigardian Evangel that's going to go away at the end of turn regardless. And yeah, let's just race them. I could Peacekeeper to tax one of the cards in their hand, but odds are that they can just play some other card. Okay. It's a curious choice to get rid of, I guess, the blocker that frees up the Tenacious Pups to attack. But this seems like it goes pretty well for me. I would like to... do I even want to blow up the 2 Tenacious Pups? Like, do I care about that very much? I definitely want to get rid of the Rahilda, but putting 2 counters on the Diviner of Fates and giving it lifelink actually kind of sounds maybe better. I guess it gets rid of a bunch of chump blockers. Does that matter to me? I guess that kind of matters to me. It means that they kind of need to be on chump blocking duty for all of my creatures this turn. Is Giant Growth in the format? Might be. Might be. Let's see. Sheoldred's pretty strong. Lae'zel reanimates also pretty strong. If I swing with both, they kind of have to trade off with one. And then chump block, which is also pretty strong. Sheoldred's not a very efficient use of mana. I'm pretty sure I just want to Lae'zel and then reanimate Raffine. Okay. Yes. When the opponent plays Lae'zel and then tanks, that is usually time to start conceding. Giant Growth would actually be pretty interesting with Rahilda, huh? Especially if you ever had a double striking Rahilda. How do we beat combo decks? So we can do a pretty good job of just being aggressive against them. Most of the combo decks are not super happy with you having Patriar's Humiliation as disruption. And then we also get to slow down the combo with Anointed Peacekeeper. So we can do a fairly decent job of just throwing their game plan off for enough turns that they die. Alright, 2-drop, 3-drop. That's a game plan. But that said, I haven't had a ton of experience playing against some of the more developed combo decks nowadays, which is one of the things that I really want to get the opportunity to test. Because those are my initial assumptions about why our matchups against combo decks used to be fine, and that is probably still the case. But I do not completely know whether that is entirely still the case or not. This pause makes me think the opponent has cut down. Nope, just unequal to Anvil. Okay. Well, that decides whether we are going to play Anointed Peacekeeper or Raffine. Hold on. If I think my opponent has cut down, then I actually do really, really, really want to play the Raffine. Like, the Raffine will die to cut down, but we also get the Angel of Unity up to a 2/4, which is a pretty big deal, because it means not dying to cut down. But what am I discarding to the Raffine? I don't want to discard the other Raffine. I guess I can hope that I draw a non-land to discard? Actually, a third copy of Raffine would probably be the best thing we could draw. If my opponent wants to spend 2 mana cut downing Raffine, I think that's probably fine. If we do draw a land, then I think I'm going to end up discarding Raffine, because I actually care more about keeping the Angel of Unity alive than I do keeping the Raffine alive. Yeah, we do draw land. Rough. Okay. Maybe not. Maybe now that I've drawn a land, I actually do have to just play around, hoping they cut down my Raffine and not my Angel of Unity. And then I just play the second Raffine. And if they don't spend removal spells on either of my creatures, then I get to Anointed Peacekeeper, and that's just all gravy. Epic Cure. Okay. Then the cut down on Raffine. Voltage Surge on Raffine. Oh, okay. That's fine, too. Land, huh. Alright, well, it means we're not paying life to play the Raffine, at least. There we go. Alright. Very happy to discard Tenacious Underdog and get the Angel of Unity out of cutdown range, although I guess the initial pause was probably the Voltage Surge. There's probably not a lot of reason for them to play cutdown, is there? Which means the Angel of Unity is still in Voltage Surge range. I'm pretty safe making this block, I feel. Yeah, Sheoldred's definitely a problem. Get some lifelink at the very least. Oh, I probably should have done this in the other order to get a 2/4 flyer lifelinker rather than a 6/6 Anointed Peacekeeper. Let's make Go for the Throat more expensive. They're going to wind up using it on the Anointed Peacekeeper anyway, so that they can actually get in with the Sheoldred. Why is Red Black Sack so popular in Alchemy? Because it's just very, very good. Getting Sanguine Brushstroke in the format is a big upgrade for it over what the deck has access to in Standard. Oh, I didn't think about the fact that I don't have access to double black, which is kind of penalizing because I really, really want to be able to play Gix's command off the top here. There we go. That's a real magic card. Alright. Yeah, we want that Angel of Unity bigger, because we want to be gaining a lot more life. Lae'zel. Get back the large Peacekeeper. Tax the Brushstroke. Oh, that might actually be worse than taxing the Anvil, though. We're still lacking that second black source, which is going to be a problem. Yeah, I think we actually do tax the Anvil. No matter what, they were going to be able to play Brushstroke plus Activate Anvil this turn, if they wanted to dedicate all their mana to doing this. But where this really was better than naming Brushstroke was if they wind up drawing another Anvil. Okay, activating the blood means they can't activate the Onicult Anvil. Unless I named the wrong thing with this. I did not. Okay. Alright, Viconia's interesting. What were your specializations? One of these gains life, I know. Specializing into black gains life? Okay. So Klement specializing into white gains life, but a little more slowly. What I really, really, really want to draw is a Patriar's Humiliation. If I can hit Sheoldred with that, then we start swinging with the whole team and gaining an absurd amount of life. Take 2, down to 8. If I specialize into blue, I could get back cut down? Is that relevant to me in any way? Unlikely. I got nothing better to do, though. Oh, if I specialize into blue, I can get Go for the Throat. The problem with Gix's command right now is we don't have the second black source. That was a weird noise. Was that the game? White source. So we could specialize and bring back Klement, which isn't very helpful. See if we can find a blue source here. Takenuma. Huh. Alright, up to 9, assuming they don't have a removal spell? Or they do. Okay. Well, that's pretty unlucky. And also probably the game? Down to 3. They attack with everybody. This costs 2. Specialize costs 2. I'm 1 mana short of killing the Sheoldred here? No, I'm not! Oh, shoot! I could have killed the Sheoldred before I drew that card. Oh. I forgot Viconia was legendary. Whoops. I guess they would have just killed my Viconia in response to this is what actually would have happened. I suspect I'm still dead regardless, though. I don't see any way in which I'm not dead. El Camisado, thanks for the resub. I continue to appreciate the support. That puts me to 2. Which is mostly dead to Oni Cult Anvil. If they let me get to my draw step, do I have anything that I could draw? Patriar's Humiliation? Maybe? Probably not. I don't think so. Nay, I think not. I think we are mostly just dead. Is there a reason you weren't swinging with both angels over the last few turns? Because the opponent has a Sheoldred in play, and if I was swinging with both angels, then I would draw 2 cards with Raffine, which would make me die faster to the Sheoldred. Boop. Boop. No. Yeah, wasn't a way around that. We might have actually been able to win that if they hadn't had the go for the throat for our lifelinker. We might have had just enough life to survive with the Viconia. I should have been way more excited about Takenuma as a draw than I was. Alright, let's see. Temporary lockdowns, Gix's commands, cut a bunch of 2-drops. Cut the cut downs, play Patriar's Humiliation number 3. Call that good? Still don't remember what else we were doing because this doesn't quite feel right. I do sort of wonder if I'm supposed to play Extraction Specialist. I like almost feels reasonable-ish. Yeah. Doesn't Raffine add more counters based on the number of cards you discard, though? Yes, but drawing 1 card and putting 1 extra counter on with Raffine would mean that we were net losing 1 life. If we'd been attacking over the course of multiple turns with 2 and potentially stacking exponentially more lifelink counters that or more counters that then presumably gain 1 life each following turn just by existing, then maybe, but we're kind of operating in the short term, and the chance that we just draw lands is pretty devastating. Maybe if our draws were only going to be lands regardless, then that doesn't actually matter. Like, we would lose that game with either play pattern? Maybe? Uncertain. We'll keep this. This is a lot of tap lands, but I do want to figure out how decent Gix's command is. Okay, temporary lockdowns, cool. How interested am I in multiple Anointed Peacekeepers? Especially if I can't play one next turn. Are these interesting with temporary lockdown? I'm going to assume that I want lands slightly more than that Peacekeeper. Have I considered making a deck with Rusko? What card is Rusko? Okay, Diviner of Fates is reasonable. Diviner of Fates number 2, I would prefer lands. What I really want my opponent to do is play some sequence of 2-drops. Dragon Engine. That's gross. Okay, I really need to hit this land drop, so Diviner of Fates it is. Gross. Okay. Let's get rid of... what? Raffine? Probably? That's not helpful either. Alright. Attempts to curve out to Gix's command, not starting off well. Taking a lot more damage than I'd like. Discard cards, get to filter them, and make treasures. That's real good. Also doesn't die to Gix's command. Or lockdown. Not ideal. Yeah, now we kind of just lose when they kill the Diviner of Fates, huh? Ugh. Humana. Alright, well, have to Diviner of Fates, try to draw land. Basically the end of it. We hit an untapped land now and just get to start doing Angel of Unity things. That might provide a chance. Jeez. Not really. Down to two blood tokens in play. Nope. Alright. Well, that was completely non-functional, which isn't very educational. It was kind of both games falling apart to mana issues. I guess game 1 wasn't actually mana issues. Or at least we didn't actually experience the mana issues. We lost the best draws in our deck, but we also didn't draw the best draws in our deck to get punished by that. Oh, It happens. I mean, those are valuable data points. The deck, well, no, 25 lands with multiple redraws. I guess missing land drops actually isn't that frequent. Although that hand would have been better if we'd hit the third land untapped. So perhaps there's a flaw to be demonstrated in the number of tap lands, although we actually increased the number of untapped lands. But we could always try to do more. Although the lands we played there that were tapped are not the lands that we would ever cut. Anyway. No, we shall not be keeping the one-lander. We shall be keeping the two-lander. I think curving Klement into cards is probably better than curving Angel of Unity into cards here. I wonder if that's actually true. I'm just supposed to assume that an opponent's playing red-black on average, and the flying lifelinker is better against red-black. Well, now I'm going to assume that my opponent has a Voltage Surge, so I'm going to play the Klement since I'd rather the Klement die than the Angel of Unity. Okay, no Voltage Surge out of the opponent. Deadly Dispute. Oh yeah, that's the other big thing red-black gets that you don't have in Standard. Not having Deadly Dispute in Standard is a pretty significant difference for this whole archetype. It's weird that Deadly Dispute is in Alchemy and not Standard, but yeah. So it is. Alright, Peacekeeper. I would absolutely love to 3-for-1 my opponent. Thank you. That sounds delightful. Then we hope we don't get Voltage Surged. Now I'm going to assume that I'm supposed to swing with both of my creatures here, so that if they do double block Peacekeeper, I can have my cut down. Get my 2-for-1. Nope, they just accept killing the Klement. I'm fine with this. They get to draft a card from a spellbook. We're fine with that. We will play Chonky Lae'zel, because Chonky Lae'zel is very good. Extremely solid at making opponents dead. Deadly Dispute, sacking Synthesizer. Harvester, sure. Kinda torn on whether to cut down that, or whether to discard cut down to get back Klement. Tough choices, tough choices. Probably will start off by Anointed Peacekeepering to see what the opponent's hand is. I'm probably going to just name Onicult Anvil a second time. That way they can't just remove one of my Peacekeepers. Oh, Sheoldred's cute too. Alright, so I don't have to play this Peacekeeper pre-combat. I do sort of have to choose whether I'm going to cut down or not. Because if I want to discard something, then I should do it pre-combat. Just in case they don't block the Lae'zel. I don't think that I'm discarding anything here, but I will cut down if they double block me. If they single block, am I still cut downing? So that they only get one Xander's Wake? Well, I mean, I'm definitely killing the blood. Yeah, I am. Because I do not want them getting to kill a Peacekeeper with that Blood Tithe Harvester. So, damage. Peacekeeper. None of this really matters to me. Double tax Oni Cult. Remove the removal spell. Pass the turn. So they presumably play Sheoldred, which gives them a good block on Anointed Peacekeeper. We swing with Lae'zel, trade with the Sheoldred if they want. Oh, actually, can I just swing with everything and they have to block the Lae'zel? 10... No, even if I were to specialize Lae'zel, that's still not quite enough damage to push through lethal if they block a Peacekeeper. Well, that, however, is enough to push through lethal. Tap it, eat the Sheoldred. Discard the Sigardian Evangel. Do 8, 12, 16. Seems like lethal. Okay, let's try this game plan again. There still might be one too few removal spells for the Sheoldred. I mean, Gix's Command is a removal spell, so functionally we have 6. Maybe 6 is enough? I don't know. Still not sure exactly how to feel about the Patriar's Humiliations. Admittedly, their strength is not necessarily for this matchup. Their strength is a question of how good they are against the combo decks. Tap land, huh? Gonna keep this. If we hit an untapped land for turn 2 in our first 2 draws, which we don't, but we do hit a third land. But if we get to curve Klement into Peacekeeper, we'll be pretty happy. So we just really need an untapped land. Nope. No such luck. Still, our mana fixing here is good. We now have a lot of lands since we've drawn a bunch of them, which means we do get to do Gix's Command stuff. But I do have to admit, the Gix's Command is definitely beginning to look less impressive than I had hoped it would be. Oh my. Red-Black actually produces a lot more 3-power creatures than I originally expected. They should not have played this pre-combat, because now I can block with the Peacekeeper. Yep, there is a qualifier next month, is why we're testing out the Alchemy. Alright, I believe we can safely block Braids here. Get our Lae'zel. Feel like our shape is okay if we hit an untapped land, and pretty sad if we don't hit an untapped land. Crucius is a brutally good card for that deck to have gained. Yeah, that's an issue. Don't think there's any way around the fact that I kind of just have to draw a card with Diviner of Fates here, trying to hit our 5th land. There we go. Okay, we get to play that tapped. Temporary lockdown clears out the Harvester and a treasure token, which ain't nothing. We hold back Lae'zel, and then just hope the opponent doesn't have anything too busted. Or a way to pump the Crucius. Puts us to 2 if I block the Crucius. We get to regain 10 life when we Gix's command. So I need them to not have an instant speed removal spell for the Lae'zel. They got a 3-drop. Or, well, something that's 3 or greater. Alright, how effective is gaining... Oh, not 10 life, because the Crucius dies on the first hit. Oh, no block with the Crucius, so I gain the full 5 life. Alright. Don't hate that. I'm probably not going to want to cycle the Raffine's Tower when my opponent has Sheoldred. But now's the part where the Lae'zel doesn't have lifelink anymore, which definitely complicates this. Crucius being a mana dork that also filters a bunch of cards is kind of brutal. Let's see. So if I play the Raffine here, I'm taking more damage, forcing a chump block with the Blood Artist, as opposed to... Otherwise they could do nothing. Which puts me to 10, and then 8, going to 6 on my turn, meaning I have to chump block, but I can... Okay. I think I'm supposed to do this. Oh, but I actually have to discard a real card? I can't discard a land? Oh, shoot. I didn't even think about what happens if I draw a land here. That was very bad. I was really counting on playing out that second Angel of Unity. Oh. Huh. What does that mean? I shouldn't have played that. We just answered the second Sheoldred. So I totally could have discarded it to Raffine. Yeah, third Sheoldred in hand does kind of make the block make pseudo-sense. Alright, so I have to draw a removal spell for Sheoldred. That's sort of that thing I just said. Except, is it really? I guess kind of. Interesting to note, Gix's command would have been pretty not good in this position anyway, because of the Blood Artist, and I wouldn't have been able to clear out all the blockers. Do we want to force a chump block with Lae'zel here? Go down to 3. Yeah, I think I have to try to find something remotely interactive. It's not something remotely interactive. I guess we have to keep the Diviner of Fates then? So we're going up to 5. Well, no. Going up to 4. Come on, removal spell. Nope. Alright. Yeah, we definitely need more answers to Sheoldred. Just the Gix's commands and the Patriar shenanigans is not cutting it. Currently, we have one more opportunity to top deck a removal spell for Sheoldred. Is that right? So they can't attack in a way that makes us kill something. We are dead to a removal spell. That's a removal spell. Which does kill us. We kind of got completely bodied by Crucius. That's concerning. That may mean the whole current plan just doesn't function. I kind of wonder what would happen if we just played a bunch of extraction specialists to have more life-linking bodies. Not that they'd be very good against Sheoldred, but I currently don't have more answers to Sheoldred that I can bring in. So we probably need to find room for one more answer to Sheoldred, is what I'm taking away from that. These games have definitely made me feel like Gix's command is a major downgrade to Elspeth in this matchup. I was wondering if it would be a minor downgrade, but it is not feeling minor, it is feeling pretty substantial. Angel of Unity temporary lockdown hand's pretty awkward. Definitely think I'm still supposed to go for Angel of Unity on 2. If we can try to bait the opponent into using removal spells on Angel of Unity and then Extraction Specialist it back, so much the better for us. If we cannot do that, I am probably just supposed to attempt to get the opponent to Blood Tithe Harvester me. I was supposed to attack, because I can't block the Blood Tithe Harvester. I guess I could. It's not against the rules to block the Blood Tithe Harvester and then temporary lockdown, and that way my Angel of Unity is actually in the graveyard for the Extraction Specialist. Huh. Yeah, well, now I really want a lockdown, so I guess we're just blocking. Okay. Or the opponent can actually kill it, so I don't have to block. That works. Alright, lockdown it is. Would like to draw another temporary lockdown if possible. Failing that, Klement is at least interesting. There's a fairly decent chance that Gix's command ends up blowing up the Angel of Unity unless I put a counter on it. Well, there's also a pretty decent possibility that I'm not actually going to blow up the board with Gix's command, is there? I'm trying to decide if I want to play the Extraction Specialist first, which gives us a 5-4 lifelinker, or gives us a 4-3 lifelinker and a 3-3 Klement. I suspect that is wrong. I suspect I'm supposed to Klement first and give us a 5-4 lifelinker, which feels like a pretty relevant stat line against Sheoldred. Okay. That's not the opponent playing Sheoldred, so our Extraction Specialist is still live. Cool. So the opponent held up the ability to sack the 1/1 in order to deny us the life gain off Extraction Specialist. What's the best way for us to handle that? We could just Gix's command. Put counters on Klement. I don't like that. Are we swinging with Klement here? We're probably swinging with Klement here. Yeah, make this trade. I'm not against that. Sack. Sure. Don't think we're ever discarding Gix's command to get back a random creature here. Would like my opponent to play a Sheoldred so that I could kill it. Extraction Specialist stolen, frees up Angel of Unity, denies me the ability to Gix's command. That's annoyingly busted. Alright. I am now officially off Gix's command. Lesson has been learned. This does go back to putting us to having a lower number of removal spells that hit Sheoldred than I would like if we turn these back into Elspeth, so we'll have to go back to not playing Cut Down, turn that into... what, 2 Indestructible Stance? Valorous Stance, that's the name of the card. I could put counters on their 4/4 and then make them sack it, that's true. I wouldn't gain any life then. That would be incredibly depressing, but it was very close to the best option available to us. Hamana. Then we just have to hope they don't draw a Deadly Dispute to kill the Extraction Specialist. They held something up here. They have an envelope on the treasure, but they can only make creatures on their turn. Would have been so rad if this Caves of Koilos was something that I could discard to specialize Lae'zel. Getting to specialize Lae'zel with Plaza of Heroes up is pretty cool. But I'm definitely not willing to discard the Gix's command in this spot. I want them to use some kind of removal spell here so that I at least feel better about killing the will. Okay, cool. Return the Lae'zel to play. Gain a life. Kill the will. Play the land, I guess, because if we draw another Pain land, I can Takenuma some Klement back. It's not very good. Gross. The Extraction Specialist gets in. We at least get to attack with that next turn. If they can discard something to the Lae'zel. In just a sec. I can't attack with the Extraction Specialist if they specialize the Lae'zel? Or if I do, we trade the Specialist with the Lae'zel? Which might almost be fine. We'd still trade even without them specializing. I probably want to make that trade, because then at least the Lae'zel is in the graveyard unspecialized for my Takenuma. I think we hold back the Angel of Unity for chump blocking purposes on the will. Okay. I was thinking that might actually have been really scary if they didn't block here. Alright, we're not locked downing yet. I can specialize will here. Which is gonna be pretty brutal. Because they can always just sack Oni Cult Anvil and then sack specialize the 1/1. Yeah, that basically does that. Specializing this into red, attacks twice, and they specialize into black. Okay. Oh, this can sacrifice an artifact? Oh, wow, that's so busted. Okay, we really need to get back the Elspeth then. Pay 5 life. Take action. 5 life paid. Jumpity block. Takenuma. I really wish this Lae'zel had been the one that had gotten buffed rather than the extraction specialist, but alright. Successfully top deck a very good card. And by a very good card, I mean something we can discard to Lae'zel. Oh, they have priority. That's miserable. Huh. Alright, I think I have to get cute here because I think they have a removal spell for the Lae'zel. I'm going to specialize into white by discarding this temporary lockdown that isn't super useful right now anyway. I'm kind of expecting they remove the Lae'zel in response. I blink it and then specialize the Raffine getting back the 5/4 lifelinker. Clever, and don't use the removal spell. Wow, alright. That's a very bad sign. Brushstroke's a lot of damage. Alright, what you working with in that hand, opponent? They had the removal spell. There's still nothing I can do about it. So the Infernal Grasp can hit the Peacekeeper at end of turn. Still, I have to attack with Lae'zel here and then chimp block the will. I just have to have this loot. Oh yeah. Alright. I don't think that 1/1 strongly changes anything. No Infernal Grasp on my turn. That at least taxes their mana quite a bit more. Well, we're definitely chump blocking here, but which creature are we chump blocking with? It's probably the Raffine. I've got to imagine that they're probably going to fizzle the Raffine's trigger with Infernal Grasp no matter what anyway. So I'd rather tax the Infernal Grasp more heavily. That's not good for me at all. Well, that's also not helpful for me at all. Oh, I forgot that Plaza of Heroes exists. Does that mean that I should have blocked a different... Jumped with the Peacekeeper and tried to do Plaza of Heroes stuff with the Raffine, maybe? Life becomes really awkward here, kind of no matter what they draw. We're going down to 5 from the brushstroke. Will can't really attack into Lae'zel. Yeah, save the Klement, because I don't want them to do 1 point of damage to me by killing the Klement. They don't have great attacks without top-decking something, but between the Blood Token and the Crucius, their amount of filtering is... Oh, wow, that's a bad sign. They don't want to get rid of their card. I hate it. Okay. Oh, my. Probably should have played the Shipwreck Marsh at this point. Yeah, that's very deeply awful. That's 3 damage. Down to 4. Wouldn't be a terrible spot to draw a temporary lockdown. Lae'zel number 2, but still no ability to specialize, huh? Alright, Lae'zel number 2. Shields down on the Plaza. Taking 2 damage from Oni Cult on their turn. No life linkers. I don't think I have a way to survive them just attacking on board. Gold Surge. This also is even more lethal. Do I have any blocks that stay remotely alive? No. Best I could do was, if I drew a removal spell, I could hit the Blood Artist in response here, which would be pretty strong, but do not have the capacity to do that. If I did hit the Blood Artist, they sack, do 2. Yeah. We have not drawn a single copy of Patriar's Humiliation against red-black, which is probably the most interesting, like, failing to meet the average of the games that we've played so far. As Patriar's Humiliation was like a winning top deck in almost every game we played. Or if not winning on the spot, like massively reversing the board state. Which, that definitely makes me feel a lot better about Patriar's Humiliation on the whole of things. So if we go with Valorous Stance, 3 Patriar's Humiliation, turn this back into 2 Elspeths, turn the Gix's Command in the sideboard back into an Elspeth, that ought to improve the odds. I think. It's a shame that there still really isn't anything we can do to increase the number of lands we're playing that we are allowed to discard to Lae'zel and Klement, because that actually has been kind of a significant downside. I could hypothetically play more Triomes, but what I actually want are white-black Triomes. And there aren't any other white-black Triomes. I'm also not entirely certain that I can actually afford to play tap lands at all. It's honestly somewhat tempting to run the just default Plains Swamp 2-color tap land, not a Triome. Indantha is white-black-green, but unfortunately not Alchemy legal, since Alchemy's mostly just standard cards. It's weird to keep track of, though, right? What are the red? Red Lae'zel makes a couple of chump blockers. Green Lae'zel pumps your other creatures, but doesn't have trample. That's not helpful. Green or red Viconia relevant. Red gives haste. Green buffs the card. Green or red Klement relevant. Red Klement's actually like sort of relevant. Green Klement's less relevant. No, I don't think we got anything there. So currently against red-black, new version, we would be... I guess I don't necessarily need Valorous Stance, although it's nice against removal. I could just... It's also good against control, but we haven't seen very much control. I could play the removal spell that hits artifact, or that doesn't hit artifacts. And then it could also hit random 3/3s with benefits. Okay, let's give that a chance, I guess. We could play Go for the Throat. I kind of want one more removal spell that hits Sheoldred. Only playing 5 post board, with 4 of those being Patriar's Humiliations, is definitely awkward, because we did not actually do a very good job of making Patriar's Humiliation lethal on creatures. But I guess most of what I want to kill that isn't a Sheoldred is actually the Wills and the Blood Artists. Well, and I guess temporary lockdown. Maybe I'm just supposed to, like, not use Patriar's Humiliation relatively aggressively, and we call that good. Actually, Go for the Throat being black instead of white is a big upgrade, too. That's just increasing the number of black cards in the deck makes Lae'zel better. That's notable. Extraction Specialist. I'm still feeling like this card is relevant against mono red, but it didn't feel very impressive against red black. Don't you think Void Rend is a universal response to everything, artifact, creatures, enchantments? Unfortunately, Void Rend is a universal answer to everything, or rather, is a universal removal spell that hits everything, but it is also a universal removal spell that hits your tempo, which is basically just to say that, like, 3 mana is not really a super acceptable rate to pay to kill most things. Like, there's very, very few permanents that I want to pay 3 mana to 1/1, and everything that I am willing to spend 3 mana to 1/1 as a removal spell, I can also answer by just paying 2 mana. Because basically everything that I'm concerned about right now is a creature that dies to Go for the Throat. Any value in running Shadowheart? I don't dislike Shadowheart. Viconia has historically occupied that spot just because it's got a lot more utility against decks that are trying to play Esper Control. Where exiling graveyard stuff is a really big deal. Okay. This is actually kind of a surprisingly fine hand, because we can specialize Klement discarding Raffine's Tower. Well, I mean, I'm probably not supposed to keep Elspeth on top because it means these Clements really aren't buffing anything relevant, but... Okay, so we are almost assuredly playing a combo deck here. That's going to be interesting. Filter, colorless, scry 1. What kind of combo-y nonsense am I going to learn about today? I gotta assume that means Elspeth's pretty bad here. I'm gonna assume third Clement's also really bad, though. Revels? Crystal Grotto and Revels seems sketchy. Goblins, yeah, I'm expecting it's probably Goblins. That makes the most sense to me here. Let's go ahead and Clement. Do I want to make a bunch of tokens, or do I want to start gaining a bunch of life? I actually kind of feel interested in the whole gaining life idea. Let's gain a lot of life. As much life as we possibly can. Before the opponent plays 1,000,000 goblins per turn. Is goblins actually a combo deck? So it's sort of a combo deck, but not technically. It's sort of like goblins in Historic used to be, but instead of Muxus, they have like this 4-mana enchantment that just draws a bunch of cards and makes all their goblins free. Which is not, like, actually strictly true, but is kind of close to true. I'm sure we'll get an example of how that works here in a second. Yeah, Goblin Influx Array. Goblin spells you cast cost red less to cast. Not generic, the actual red pip less. And then at the beginning of the end step, you get a random goblin card in your hand. So you just get a huge number of goblins in your hand over time. And also all your goblins are insanely cheap. Often, like, getting to the point where they actually cost literally 0 mana. And then there's just a bunch of stuff that gives your creatures haste, and all sorts of other nonsense. Anyway, I think we're just gonna play Elspeth and give Raffine lifelink.
There are good people in this city. And be brave.
Just try to keep our life total up as high as possible. And attempt to race the opponent. Okay, opponent. It is weird to say, do I die here? And yet, I am scared that it might be possible I die here. I don't think I can die now that they played the Chandra. Okay. Now I will not die. But yeah, they have a lot of creatures that like give goblins haste, which means they can copy it with reflection and just start drawing a billion cards. Anyway, let's give you flying and call that a good time. Thank you being on the play. If the Goblins deck looks like that in game 2, and I don't have to engage at all with the part of Goblins that's actually scary, that would make me very, very, very happy. Let's see. What do we want to do? Is temporary lockdown even good against them? It might not be. I really wish that I had access to cards that blow up Goblin Influx Array. Not having that kind of sucks. Kind of think I can probably go for the throat and play Extraction Specialist instead and hope maybe that's good. I'm sort of interested in playing another Patriar's Humiliation just to lower my curve. Elspeth probably isn't good. It's probably too slow. I mean, I guess giving stuff lifelink isn't bad either. Why play lifelink giver when I can just play thing that has lifelink, though? Just maximize the number of creatures I have to go with the synergy of bringing back my 2-drops that buff stuff. Should we consider Destroy Evil in the board, good versus Array, and Sheoldred? It's a consideration, but it's also... It's definitely a lot more narrow than go for the throat. Probably get a better idea after playing against goblins more times and seeing how critical or not critical it feels like it is to answer the enchantment. Let's go with black, untap, Angel of Unity, buff Peacekeeper, get it out of Lightning Strike range, although I don't expect that they're playing Lightning Strike. Still probably a good idea.
Yep, I'm basically a professional.
Angel of Unity doing good blocking duty.
You're lucky this is a warning shot.
Alright, the turn 3 Peacekeeper should be pretty strong here. Let's go ahead and buff Diviner Fates, I guess. What do we got? Molten Impact. That's definitely something that kills a 4/4 Peacekeeper, unfortunately. So does Brittle Blast. And Goblin Ray. 2. So if I let them Molten Impact the Peacekeeper, they uptick Chandra. Yeah, I think I just have to stop them from playing Influx Array. I believe I'm willing to take 1 damage to do 1 loyalty worth of damage to Chandra.
Let's dance.
So I'm imagining this is them just killing both of my creatures, actually. Nope, it's playing Squee instead. Okay. I don't love the missing land drops thing. That's not helpful. Could play Sigardian Evangel and then get rid of the Squee forever, which is probably pretty tempting. Probably the correct maneuver. Squee down. No escape for Squee.
You're really cramping my style.
They probably play the array now. Assuming they can't remove any of our creatures, that gives us the opportunity to... Okay. Oh, okay. Alright, we're just racing. Yeah, that might be bad for me. Fair enough. Can I actually let them keep this goblin? I want to kill Chandra, but maybe I can't. I take 5, go to 9. I probably can't let them have this goblin, unfortunately, because they have the Brittle Blast. Well, still not lands, unfortunately. Jeez. Well, I could play the Diviner of Fates. Hope we hit the land drop off that. No, I'm probably better off playing the Raffine. Since at least I gain one more life that way. Jeez. Harsh. Harsh game, harsh.
Party's over for you, pal.
And the Raffine blocks relatively well, or at least eats one more mana for the Brittle Blast. Alright, no Brittle Blast this turn. That's something. Untap land? Get to play Sheoldred? Trigger Raffine twice? That's definitely, you know, good. Do I really want this land? I really want this counter is what I really want. So I guess I'll accept the land for the time being. Alright, that's a pretty big life swing at least, but now the opponent has Goblin Influx Array, and that is gonna cause some problems. Sheoldred down. Well, let's go ahead and Evangel. Tap down a mountain, see what the opponent does. I wasn't supposed to play the land, and I wasn't supposed to let the auto-tapper tap the Caves of Koilos. That's a problem. Alright, well, I guess we're not going to play 2 Evangels. We're only going to play 1 Evangel then. I don't even really want to attack with the Raffine. I mean, I guess it gains 1 more life. Assuming I discard a non-land. But I get to draw 2 to find a non-land that I want to discard. Nah, I think we hold the Raffine back. It's close, but I think it's correct. So we discard the Evangel. We're left with an Angel of Unity. I I really want to hold up this Patriar's Humiliation, so if they play a goblin that gives all their goblins haste, we could do something about it. Oh, auto-tapper, auto-tapper, auto-tapper. You complicate my life so dramatically. Makes things fun, though. Alright, well, I'm just gonna play Diviner Fates then. I think playing this Diviner Fates and getting the buff on the Angel of Unity is worth slightly more to me than holding up Patriar's Humiliation. At this point, do we have anything in the graveyard that getting back with Lae'zel is meaningful? We don't even have the ability to get anything back with Lae'zel. Weirdly enough, I think I'm just getting rid of Lae'zel. I think I would rather have a 2/4 lifelinker. Okay. Okay, that could have been worse. That could have been significantly worse. Alright, now it's pretty obligatory that we hold up Patriar's Humiliation, I feel like. Okay, how are we handling this? We can get back Klement. I can get back Sigardian Evangel. I don't think tapping anything down accomplishes anything here, though. So I think we just get back Klement and just hope we have enough lifelinkers that I don't need to hold up Patriar's Humiliation. I don't know why I did this before attacking. I'm not drawing any cards with this. So all I'm doing is losing out on information. Alright, that didn't really change anything, but still. Now I failed to buff the other extraction specialist in my hand. If I had waited. Alright, life total at 24. Multiple lifelink blockers. Okay. Successfully did not get massive goblin comboed. Successfully played lots of lifelinkers. Aggro. That's at least a good sign. I think that I made an interesting early mistake there, thinking that I was valuing double black more than double white because I had Sheoldred in hand that cost double black, failing to realize that even though I don't have cards in hand at that point that cost double white, I have a lot of turn sequences that cost double white or even triple white, oftentimes more than I have turns that cost double black. So I probably should have chosen to put my land on white and not black. Yeah, this is not the best deck at specializing Lae'zel into black. It's not the worst, and it's kind of... It is honestly sort of hard to get too much better. Because mostly what you want to do with Lae'zel, the majority of the time, is discard a black 3-drop to reanimate the black 3-drop. And there's just not actually a huge number of good black 3-drops. Well, we're going to give her Patriar's Humiliation and just accept curving out. Drawing Raffine is amazing. That was so good. Now I can actually play a 3-drop even if my opponent removes Klement and turns off my Plaza. Although Extraction Specialist says lifelink, maybe Kami of Mourning would be a decent replacement that does the same thing. Kami of Mourning. I think that having lifelink is a much bigger advantage, and versus like the matchups where we want Extraction Specialist tend to be the matchups like this one against Mono Red, where the lifelink is so much more relevant than bringing the creature back. And it's also worth noting that Extraction Specialist has a creature type that's relevant for Angel of Unity, which is a pretty big deal. Because we really want to be able to put the buffs onto a creature with lifelink. And so in the matchups where Extraction Specialist is very powerful, it's worth noting that those tend not to be... Oh, that's a problem. I shouldn't have blocked. I forgot about that. That I needed the Raffine to be able to cast the Diviner of Fates. The matchups where we want the Extraction Specialists are matchups where the game gets decided one way or another a lot faster, typically, than Lae'zel specializes. So the fact that we can't discard our 3-drop on turn 5 to get it back trivially is not the point in the game at which we're trying to get the most advantage. Ambergris is a 4-power creature. That's absolutely disgusting. Can I draw land? Thank you. I can probably attack with Raffine here. I'm going to assume this 3/5 Lae'zel is, like, deeply safe at the moment. If that's wrong, I'm going to be real sad. But the hope is that we are about to put a lifelink counter on Lae'zel and swing, and that will be pretty good. Actually, maybe I'm not even going to put a lifelink counter on Lae'zel. Maybe I'm going to put a lifelink counter on Raffine. So putting a lifelink counter on Lae'zel just gains 4 life when they chump block with Etchings of Kumano. More if I hold Raffine back, I guess. Kumano down to 10. Play with fire down to 8. Which turn is this? Play those cards until end of turn. Okay, so they can't traumatic prank me here. That's very nice. Ooh, okay. Put me to 5. Well, now I feel relatively happy with this whole Elspeth lifelink on Lae'zel thing.
I know there's a hero inside you.
So assuming... No, they can't traumatic prank Lae'zel, because Lae'zel still has bounce protection. I don't need cards to do anything in hand. I just need a life right now. Alright, up to 16. Do your best, opponent! I have nothing! Elspeth is fun. Now, admittedly, I do think that probably would have been a position where Gix's command was better than Elspeth was, but it was still pretty good either way. Alright, now we get to do shenanigans. Do we want Patriar's Blessing, or Patriar's Humiliation against Mono Red? I'm legitimately uncertain if that's actually good. I do want Missionary, I do want 2 Thalias, I do want all of my Extraction Specialists. I'm confident of all of that. Sheoldred, Elspeth, Lae'zel... Lae'zel's probably fine. Diviner of Fates can probably go. That's probably just too slow. Elspeth's probably too slow. Viconia is probably at least better than Tenacious Underdog, given the number of 2/2s the opponent has. Could do something like this? Still kind of feel like I'm probably supposed to bring in the Patriar's Humiliation, which raises the question of what we cut to do that. I'm not even sure I actually like Sheoldred against them, but I guess I'm also not sure that I dislike Sheoldred against them. I guess I could trim an Evangel. It's probably our least impressive 2-drop. A Mardu pile with, like, Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Is this playable? Does have Angel of Unity on turn 2. Which is not to say that it's good, but is to say that I guess I will keep. Untapped White Source? No! Oh, the inability to Patriar's Humiliation with Tieflings on 1. That's concerning. Oh, opponent missing land drops. Oh, there's our white source. Too slow, too slow. Did they hit the land drop? Did they hit the land drop? Nope, just an outcasts. Okay. Do 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 do. Pass the turn. Do do do. Wish I had played these in any other order. Blockety, blockety. Humility. Well, how capable am I of beating my opponent not having anything? Probably at least hopefully somewhat. Anointed Peacekeeper, everybody's favorite 6/6. Yeah, that's a lot of cards. I am absolutely naming Traumatic Prank, because that feels like, by a very wide margin, the card that is most likely to kill me. What with my Peacekeeper? Oh, hey, Chunky Toast. Thanks for the resub. Happy to be back, and I did have a good Christmas. Alright, we are capable of beating a one-lander. Encouraging, because if we couldn't, that would have been a problem. Wait, is Portable Hole playable in Alchemy? Huh. Oh, did we play Rock 6 earlier? Howdy, if so. Speaking of learning lessons about not keeping one-landers, I don't think I want to keep this hand. What with the lack of good cards and also the lack of lands. That's quite impressive. Alright, let's get rid of Elspeth. Crossroads, White, Scry, Angel of Unity. Ooh, tempting. Tempting, tempting, tempting. Keep. I still don't know whether I'm supposed to Angel of Unity or Klement on 2 against Mono Red. I think I'm supposed to Klement, especially on the draw. Ooh. Alright, that's a little bit horrifying. Shock. Pump Battlecry Goblin. Get in for 7. Oh, no. Okay, well, I lost. That is the ball game. I love how I actually just have to kill the Battlecry Goblin or I lose, and that's the world's worst use of my mana. Oh boy. Do 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 do. You may conjure a duplicate. What happens if you copy? What happens if you conjure a duplicate of Etchings of Kumano? What does that even do? Was Peacekeeper naming Battlecry Goblin bad there? I suspect it was probably not super great, but I mean, I don't think I was winning regardless of what I did. Because if I anoint a Peacekeeper naming Battlecry Goblin, they kind of just swing with their team and pump, and I think I'm pretty dead on board. You get the enchantment? That's weird. Because then that's not actually copying, it's not duplicating Etchings of Kumano, it's duplicating what the game considers a different card. The difference between a card and an object is sort of weird and undefined in Magic. Huh. Well, let's see. We said we wanted no Elspeths, we wanted no Tenacious Underdog, we trimmed an Evangel, we cut the Diviner of Fates, we brought in First Strikers, Lifelinkers, more Lifelinkers, cheap removal? Run it back? We do get a duplicate enchantment. Weird. I mean, I guess that's one of the perks of having a digital format, is that you don't necessarily need to actually make the plays. I'll keep this with a scry. Intuitive? Per se? Nope. I want a 2-drop. I want a 2-drop very, very badly. Because if the AI takes care of them, that's all you need. Trap Finder, sure. 2-drop, 2-drop. Okay, this is where Patriar's Humiliation is actually a pretty bad removal spell. Extraction Specialist plan does not work well if we do not have a hand that finds one of our 12 2-drops. Oh dear. Yeah. Goblin Morale Sergeant's good against Raffine. Don't love that. Not in love with this at all. How about Lae'zel, please? Off the top, make my life easier. Nope. Okay. World's least impressive extraction specialist. Okay. 2/2s, sure. Oh, that's interesting. Can you not enlist a summoning sick creature if it has haste? Like, if they activated Battlecry Goblin and just attacked with the Morale Sergeant, could they enlist the Trap Finder that's summoning sick? I think they might not be able to. Without summoning sickness. Oh, so few things. And I think I just want to trade with Extraction Specialist here. Which is kind of an issue, because I'm going to Patriar's Humiliation the Battlecry Goblin in response, and if they have a removal spell for the Extraction Specialist, I just, like, lose the game on the spot. But I can't let them have a Battlecry Goblin. Okay, that's a good card to draw, though. We like that. That makes happy. Okay, swing with Raffine. Do a bit of loot. Peacekeeper, go bye-bye. I need Raffine to be a 2/5. Play Klement. Army in a bottle. Okay, this is still extremely bad. The way haste is, for better or worse terms, the way that it's coded, basically, is that a creature with haste ignores summoning sickness, but does not lose summoning sickness. Because if you remove haste from a creature, it goes back to functionally being summoning sick, because it never actually lost summoning sickness, it just ignored summoning sickness. So, I don't know what happens if a creature is instructed to do something to a creature without summoning sickness. Oh! Oh, this is actually goblins. Not mono red. Huh. Alright. I missed that part. I don't really want to attack with Raffine, but I also really don't want to leave Raffine back and let them Traumatic Prank it. Alright. We are probably getting rid of Raffine's tower here, and playing the Peacekeeper, and probably going to name Battlecry Goblin. I like getting to tax both halves of cards. It makes me happy. Oh, I didn't even realize Goblin Influx Array could also reduce the generic cost as well. Oh wow, that's so strong. Jeez. Yeah, there's the expensive Battlecry Goblin. You want to attack with everything, opponent? I'm okay with you attacking with everything here. I probably have to kill Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. I probably can't afford to kill the Battlecry Goblin. Kumano. Do I want to Patriar's Humiliation here? Or on my turn? I think that I don't want to pay 1 life to do it. I don't think there are a lot of cards I could draw that punish me for waiting. Is Sigardian Evangel one of them? Maybe? Maybe not? Alright, Sigardian Evangel. Tap. Battlecry Goblin. Combat Peacekeeper. Do think we buff the Peacekeeper. Oh, those are good cards. I like... Whoa, hey mouse. Work with me? Do like these cards. So I have indeed wound up punished for holding on to Patriar's Humiliation to not take the 1 point of damage that I will end up taking anyway. Do I want to save this 5/5 while also denying my opponent a card draw, but giving them a reflection? Yes, because this is taxing Battlecry Goblin, so I absolutely have to save it. I could choose not to kill the Trap Finder, actually. That's probably a good idea. I don't think giving them a functionally free 3-drop is in any way better for me than them just having a free 1/1 in play. Yeah, the Dominaria Goblin Lord, it's like a 2-mana 1/1 that makes all goblins +1/+1, and makes it so whenever a goblin dies, you, like, impulse draw a card. It's actually kind of absurd, and they have not seen any of it, which is fantastic for us. Alright, so no Battlecry Goblin here, but they can Battlecry Goblin next turn. Cat time. Oh, he let himself out not too long ago. I'll have to go find him. Alright, in the meantime, how messy is my life? Opponent's going to get to copy a Battlecry Goblin at the end of turn, copy a Battlecry Goblin again on their turn, attack, make 4 goblins, pump once. There's a lot of goblins. It's a lot of very inconvenient goblinses. Can make a 3/3 lifelinking Klement? Do I care about that? Probably not. I'd probably rather have a 2/2 and a 2/4 lifelinker. But first we do swings. Am I willing to swing with the Peacekeeper here? They could block with Trap Finder. No, I'm not willing to. Letting them discount the Battlecry Goblins is completely unacceptable. Do think I probably swing with the Klement, though. I do really need to clock them. So the additional looting to put more counters on Raffine is a pretty big deal. If they were to copy something like Trap Finder to block with an attack on the ground, I'm pretty fine with that, because I think them having a Trap Finder trigger is worse than them just having another Battlecry Goblin here. Okay. I meant them having a Battlecry Goblin at the end of turn, to be clear. So that Battlecry Goblin's going away, which means they can chump to gain some life. I can't help but feel like that's amazing for me. Yeah, the rules question in this case on Goblin Influx Array Most effects that reduce colored mana do not reduce generic mana. This specific effect has a line of parentheses which is usually reserved for reminder text, and this is not reminder text. But yeah, so this has actual rules changing reminders text that makes it function differently. It's weird. Alright, well... we have 5 damage in the air. If we attack with the entire team... we get to draw 7 cards. And if we can discard 6 cards, we have lethal in the air. And by 6 cards, I mean 6 non-lands. So if 6 of our top 8 cards are not lands, we have lethal with an Alpha Strike. At the bare minimum, even if we get short, we force a lot of chump blocks. But all they have to do is, like, hold on to their pile of Battlecry Goblins, and they have more than lethal on the backswing. I'm very lucky that we are currently taxing their activations on these Battlecry Goblins, because I would be real in trouble if these Battlecry Goblins cost 2 to activate instead of 4. Alright, that's nothing. Otawara is not particularly helpful. Although it does bounce Reflection of Kikijiki before the end of turn, and that's at least somewhat nice. Otawara currently costs 2 to activate. That's 2 lands that I gotta discard. So plan draw 6 non-lands did not really work out. That's concerning. Okay. Why now? Okay. End of turn, kill Sigardian Evangel, I guess? I could bounce it to stop that. I'm just... do I care? At all? Even a little? Oh. I mean, there's still a pretty good chance I die because I hit no lifelinkers here, so let's just find out what happens. I'm pretty certain I was really dead if they copied a Battlecry Goblin instead of that 1/1. As it stands, I might still be very dead. Them just activating Battlecry Goblin once would be pretty strong. I'm hoping that they attempt to copy a Battlecry Goblin pre-combat and I get to bounce it. And that I hope that math works out such that then I don't die. There's a pretty good chance I just die regardless, though. I think the opponent might have lethal by just clicking the attack all button. So we have 4 blockers. So they get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attackers. Okay. Now they don't have enough mana to activate Battlecry Goblin, so that's very good for us. No. I have no clue why they did that, but I think they just gave me the game. Taking 3... Yeah, okay. No, that seemed like... I don't think those were actually going to be how I blocked, but I'm pretty sure that one of the ways that I could block was at least going to get there. Huh. This is still so... Actually... Well, okay. Maybe this isn't as hard as I'm making it out to be. I thought I was playing against mono red. We find out we're playing against goblins. How does that change things? Does it make me interested in temporary lockdown? I don't know. Does it make me interested in Elspeth? I think that I am a lot less interested in Sheoldred. At the very least, against goblins. Because it's a lot less about burn. And Elspeth being able to... yeah, I think I have to be able to race goblins, so I think Elspeth being able to give flying might be really important. The 4-mana enchantment's busted, but we can't play Stroke against them because we can't hold up 2 mana on their turn. None of our creatures have flash. Don't like the sideboard. The sideboard at the moment is built to beat control decks and red-black. It's very good at beating red-black. No, I'm sorry. Beat control decks with Disdainful Stroke. Beat red-black with the... whatever the 3-mana enchantment's name is. Beat mono red with the 3/2 lifelinker. Okay, this is reasonable. Kitty, after the match. Why do we not add a lockdown? Because against these aggressive decks, my deck relies on 2/2s, or 2 drops. The lockdowns aren't actually for beating aggressive decks. The lockdowns are for beating red-black Anvil, where my plan is to board out all my 2 drops, because my 2 drops aren't good against red-black, for the most part. Isn't this deck incredibly favored versus red-black? Yes, but a big part of the reason that you are favored against red-black is because of the sideboard with the thingies. Okay. Would have preferred more creatures. This makes life a tiny bit awkward. Patriar's Humiliation is at the very least an extremely solid removal spell against Runville that otherwise would be an incredibly troublesome card. Fable, sure. Kumano, sure. Alright, so opponent's kind of low on resources here. That's something. Punk. Okay. My problem of being low on resources may have just been relatively fixed. Now we hope that we can keep the opponent low on resources. Morale Sergeant, the 3/2 friend. Okay. I assume I just allow that to attack and enlist. Oh. Alright, well, never mind. We're gonna kill the Morale Sergeant. We're gonna kill the Squee. Do I want to kill the Squee? Yeah, I want to kill the Squee. Because I'm going to down-tick Elspeth next turn, and that's not going to give me enough mana to cast the Patriar's Humiliation on the Fable anyway, so let's just remove creatures here. Ooh. Extraction Specialist will be fun eventually. Don't love having to pay 2 life for Elspeth. Oh, I didn't? I did. Oh, because Elspeth can be paid for with Plaza of Heroes. Right, okay. That's good. Peacekeepers, interesting. Raffine doesn't get to block Kumano, which kind of sucks. So I think I actually do go for Peacekeeper. What am I most scared of here? Traumatic Prank, probably? But also anything that can get a haste. I don't even know if Traumatic Prank is in their deck at all, but I do think that it's the card that most completely blows me out. So I think it's what I name regardless. I could name the Goblin Array, but Goblin Array doesn't kill Elspeth, and I think my objective is to do my best to protect Elspeth. I could try to name various haste creatures, but the only thing I could name that actually wouldn't be able to attack if I named it with Peacekeeper is the 2-drop that pays 2 more to give haste to itself. And, like, if they drew that and played it and activated it and swung at Elspeth and killed my Elspeth, I would get to eat 2 of their creatures, which is just still, like, pretty good. I think I'd be fine with that. Alright, let's play Specialist, get back Klement. Give Vigilance to Angel of Unity. Start attacking with it. Feels like the right decision. Play Plaza of Heroes, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, probably. Could hold the land for Raffine. Maybe there's no benefit to playing it out whatsoever. I can't think of any benefit to actually having 1 more mana here. Alright. The Goblin's deck seems very tricky to pilot. It's definitely capable of just getting hands that don't function. To be fair, Run, Develop, Horde Master normally does a huge amount of work keeping that from happening. So we actually got pretty happy that the Patriar's Humiliations did a ton of work denying our opponent a lot of value. So, continuing to be kind of impressed by the Humiliation. Alright, I will be right back with a kitty cat. I was getting ready to say, sorry, couldn't find him, must be hiding somewhere, when I realized that apparently he's been in this room the entire time, and I never actually let him out. Which is weird, because I thought that I let him out, but no, he was just curled up on his favorite blanket that is the exact same color as him, so you can't really see him on it. Because of course he likes to be stealthy. When you do laundry, you can have chat use retrieve socks as command as a reminder when the dryer is done. Oh, if I remembered to remind chat. Oh, wow. Not only is this hand bad, but despite having 5 lands, it still can't even play a 2-drop on turn 2? And it doesn't even have a 2-drop? Alright. Mulligan to 5 it is. We're capable of winning on Mulls to 5. It's possible. Okay, keep Elspeth gone, go for the throat gone. Well, all we have to do is draw lands. I think that was a minor mistake. I wasn't supposed to play Caves on turn 1, I was supposed to play Otawara. That way, if we drew an untapped white source, I could play a painless Klement, and then if we drew an untapped black source, we could play a painless Raffine. Turns out that it didn't happen, but should have played around it. Mind Spike? Oh no, my opponent takes 2 damage and draws a card. It's like Opt, but worse in every single possible way. Bye-bye, Angel of Unity. I desperately want that land so that I can play my Lae'zel. I'm never getting my left hand back, am I, kitty? So I have no clue what we're playing against. But at the bare minimum, somehow we're curving out. Do I want to buff Raffine? I mean, I'm pretty sure I would love to trade Klement with Crucius. So I think I'm supposed to buff Raffine. Or not. Actually, maybe I do still just discard this Viconia. No. Why would I keep the Swamp to discard the Lae'zel when I can literally just keep the Viconia and also discard the Viconia with Lae'zel? Well, I guess the logic is that discarding the Viconia accomplishes the same thing, but puts a counter on the Raffine, which discarding the Swamp doesn't. Okay, yeah, discard the Viconia then. Have we tested any cards from DMU or Brothers War in this shell? We tested Gix's command earlier and decided it just wasn't good enough against red-black, so we put back in the Elspeths. Otherwise... Ooh. Okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna lose my Klement. I'm fine with that. Opponent gets to draw 2. I'm fine with that. Would like to draw a way to tap Crucius, please. Nope, that's a land. That does not do that thing that I just said. Alright, so Viconia wouldn't get to specialize anything. Probably just supposed to get the flyer. Probably supposed to attack first. They have to chump block anyway, so there's literally no change whether I specialize now or after. Ooh, Underdog's a fun card to have in the graveyard. Yeah, I gotta imagine that I'm probably supposed to just put more counters on Raffine. Do more damage to them. And then specialize Lae'zel. Get back the flying threat, probably. Play land, pay 2 life, draw a card. Okay. Well, opponent needs a board wipe. It's a shame we couldn't have buffed this Tenacious Underdog by 1. Thank you for giving me my hand back, kitty cat. What board wipes exist in these colors that actually, like, could clear the board here? I'm not even sure. I mean, I guess they could make an untapped white land drop and then board wipe me with the treasure. Okay, so what do we think we're playing against? Because is Zeotora's Proving Ground just red-black playing 2-colored duels that are moderately acceptable? Because they are warping their mana base around Invoke Despair. And if they're red-black, that sort of makes me want to play Temporary Lockdown. I'm going to assume that they're playing red-black, and if I turn out to have gotten bamboozled, then I will be sad. Now this is awkward. I'm actually 1 card off against red-black now that I have 5 removal spells plus the Elspeth. So what am I cutting? What am I cutting? Peacekeeper on the draw? It's not great, but it isn't terrible either. Diviner of Fates is probably the most consistently medium card against them. I mean, that doesn't feel right, but... Oh, I mean, it's still ETB draw a card. We'll trim 1 Peacekeeper. I don't like it. I don't think it's right, but I probably should still do it. Alright, that's a host of good 2-drops, and eventually a top end that is useful. No, my Klement. There's an argument that it's actually better for them to take Angel of Unity here, but I think specifically given this hand, it's better to take Klement. Okay, I didn't care about that card. So I am happy to see it go. No land number 3 yet. Which is awkward. Oh, poor opponent. Killing Klement after the value. We do rather strongly need to draw an untap land, especially if the opponent plays Fable here. Our life is pretty bad if the opponent plays Fable here. Well, we have to assume the opponent doesn't have Fable or they probably would have jammed it. Do I, like, care about this thing at all? I have no clue if I'm supposed to care about that at all. I'm going to operate under the assumption that I don't need to care about that at all. We will be making Crucius not castable. The opponent then discards Crucius. And hopefully we draw an untapped land here so that I can just kill the Hellion on my turn and then play Angel of Unity. Perfect. Alright, attack for 4. Kill Hellion. They may draw 2. Oh, I suppose I should have done that in their upkeep. It would have been basically the same, except better if they decided to discard their hand. Play Angel of Unity. So they get to go land drop, invoke Despair Me. Which of these would I rather get rid of? The 4/4 or the Lifelinker? Probably would rather get rid of the 2/4 here, since I'm likely to play Elspeth at some point in the near future. Like, immediately. Down tickety, find, I guess, Diviner of Fates? I mean, drawing cards is pretty cool. Do I want lands? I don't want lands, but I don't not want lands. I don't want to get rid of this Peacekeeper because it's got so many buffs on it. I kind of want to keep the tower so that we could cycle on their turn, but it's probably better to just have Peacekeeper to play next turn. So if they hit us with another Invoke Despair, we sack Diviner and Elspeth, and then just try to poke them to death on the ground, I guess? Yeah, that's what happens. Alright. Diviner down. Opponent draws a card. We lose 2 of our things. Peacekeeper. Alright. I'll make Molten Impact more expensive. Down it to 8. So they'll have to pay 4 mana to Molten Impact our 4/4. Scry. Ooh, Raffine sounds fine. So they Molten Impact our 4/4. They... With an untapped land, they can then play Fable. I would probably temporary lockdown just to get rid of the 2/2 and put our opponent to 3, possibly to 2 when we also play the Raffine. Oh, but I can't play the Raffine into cut down. So I guess if they don't have untapped land, Fable, I just don't play Raffine here. Just put the 3. Okay, well, now we get to temporary lockdown to remove the blocker on Fable this turn, so question of whether they find an alternative blocker. Fable is not a blocker. What else they got? Crucius is a functional blocker, which means I can play Raffine here to get a tiny bit of loot. Alright, temporary lockdown, get rid of treasure and 2/2. They discarded a land and got something more expensive than a land. Which, if that's a third copy of Invoke Despair, will be annoying. They should sack for black here, but because the Raffine has ward, it doesn't matter. Okay. Well, I'll happily take another Raffine after one Raffine gets cut down. So, if they have Invoke Despair, they need an untapped land to cut down Raffine and then Invoke Despair. Thankfully, Temporary Lockdown doesn't actually have anything underneath it, so when they cast Invoke Despair, it doesn't magically give them a blocker back. I'm beginning to think opponent's not on red-black sacrifice and is just on red-black midrange, which should have meant I didn't go for the temporary lockdown plan and just played more creatures, I believe. There's the cut down. Did they not discard anything to Fable? That's actually kind of horrifying. Definitely implies a removal spell for Peacekeeper. Or at least a blocker. He is removal spell for Peacekeeper. Down to 1. Okay. Well. Klement. I could make a really wide board by specializing Klement into black, but I think that that's just too weak against a removal spell. So, we'll split up our creatures, have lethal flying threat, and chump blockable ground threat. And by chump blockable, I mean tradable. Alright, Zeotora's Proving Ground gets cycled. Actually, the fact that we drew Klement and got to buff the Raffine, meaning it doesn't die to cut down, was actually kind of stellar. That makes me happy. Good stuff, good stuff. Time to go let Kitty out. Alright, I'm curious, what has our record been like since we switched to the version of this deck without Gix's commands? 100% since we switched to without Gix's command, although we've played against 3 mono red decks, and 60% with the Gix's commands, losing twice to red-black. After beating red-black twice, to be fair, but the losses felt like Gix's command was just not very good on average. Which, yeah, continues to mostly feel like red-black playing too many 3-power 3-drops now makes Gix's command just not where I would want to be. I continue to think Gix's command probably would have been good against the old version of red-black, ironically, but not the new version. So I suppose that is to say mostly that have wound up feeling like the deck just doesn't want any changes. That's not true. The Patriar's Humiliations are still new, and I still have no idea how to feel about that. Alright, take the play. Deeply skeptical of this hand that doesn't even do anything good if we do hit land drops. I think that's gotta be a mulligan. This is a hand that's better. I like the hand that's better. I'm pretty certain that I'm supposed to get rid of a 3-drop, but which 3-drop do we get rid of? I guess it's probably the duplicate Peacekeeper. Am I supposed to Crossroads for blue? That's awkward. Makes me take a lot of damage from this cave, but I think I'm probably still supposed to do that. Yeah, I do want the Takenuma. Alright. Well, we get to do the curve and outening. That is at least something. Opponent has cut down. Presumably. I don't know how many other playable instant speed 1-mana black spells there are, but they didn't cut down Klement, so I guess they don't have cut down? I gotta imagine you have to assume after Klement resolves that there's not going to be a lot of other targets for cut down. Opponent is a 170 card deck. That is true. It's gonna be one of them games, huh? Alright, well, let's Diviner of Fates, discard Forsaken Crossroads, and try to draw an untapped land then. There we go. That's a very good untapped land at the moment. There's the cut down. Okay, well. I still don't know what's happening at all. Opponent gains 2 life. That's fine, I guess. 5/6. Sheoldred is a fun card. We got to assume that the 170 card mono black deck probably has removal spells, right? So I'm not really expecting this Sheoldred to stay alive. The Sheoldred has successfully stayed alive. Alright. Fancy that. Well, I'm very close to tempted to just pass holding up Plaza of Heroes, but I should probably figure out what my opponent's doing so that I can tax it. Ah. Yes, I see. I'm going to name Go for the Throat. The most impressive part of this is that Symmetry Matrix isn't even a black card. It's actually 3-mana 5/5s. Sort of moderately annoying. That does a lot of holding back my attacks. Keep you indestructible? Yeah, alright. I kind of feel like I'd rather just trade off with both of their creatures and then play another Sheoldred rather than sack a land. Is that true? Would I rather have a Sheoldred that's 1 bigger? Or, no, I'd rather have the 1 more mana. Let's be real. Boop. Yeah, the Death Touch was helpful there. No! Silly me, naming the 2-mana murder when I could have named the 3-mana murder. Ah, rookie moves. Alright, more Diviner of Fates. I guess let's get rid of Anointed Peacekeeper. Logic there being that Sigardian Evangel discards better to trigger Diviner of Fates again, I guess. My opponent's... Okay, so chump block. Except we have Sigardian Evangel. You know what? The fact that Sigardian Evangel actually makes this lethal probably makes Sigardian Evangel a slightly better keep. Now that I think about it. because, of course, I did not think about it. Sigardian Evangel. Trigger. Tap down Sanitary Skeleton. Then do it again. Oh, okay. That's the game. So sideboarding, huh? What do we think, team? I'm gonna crowdsource this one. Think for me. What's the cuts? What's the brings-ins? Good point, good point, good point. Just run it all back. I will admit, I am not crazy enough to bring in the Disdainful Strokes, though. That I'm not willing to do. We'll go with the 72 card special. I can't run the 75. I'm not brave enough for that. It means I have to mulligan somewhat aggressively towards lands. How many lands do I have? Not a lot! I do not have a lot of lands. We are running the good old 25 land, 72 card special. Which means if I get a 6 land opener by some miracle, I am snap keeping. That's 2 lands. Yeah, you know what? Like, actually, our chances of drawing our 3rd land are pretty bad, but that's the most expensive card in our deck. But if we do draw the 3rd land, this is as close to reasonable as we're likely to get. Oh, wow, I'm good at Magic. Or I'm not, but at least the Shuffler is. Inkrise Infiltrator. I have not seen this art before. Like skulls in the wings? That's really cool art. Alright, well, land drop. Raffine. Swing with Klement. I was gonna say discard the 5-drop, but I mean, honestly, I don't know if we can afford to. We're drawing so many lands. Alright, Patriar's Humiliation, bye-bye. The funny thing is, other than that, technically Patriar's Humiliation might be a sideboard card. Nothing else we've drawn has been a sideboard card. Classic. You bring in 12 sideboard cards and don't see any of them. I may sacrifice something. I'm gonna decline. Wait, what? Oh, okay. So that's just 3 mana, deal 2, draw? I guess? Sure? Oh hey, cool, 5th land. That'll be really good for curving out to our Elspeth in our deck that's only playing, like, the equivalent of 17 lands. Let's get rid of the 2-drop and the Sanctum, I guess, just in case we draw another untapped land. Can hold on to the Eiganjo. Gain some extra life. It's weird. I almost feel like I'm playing a real constructed deck this game somehow. Whoa. Oh, this is like almost Ravenous Chupacabra, except for all the parts where it isn't invulnerable getting 2 for 1. Cool. Well, I guess we just play Elspeth and give Klement Vigilance, so that we have a blocker for the Opportunist. Like, I don't know, get rid of Angel of Unity and Peacekeeper so that Clement's very large. If they don't block, they're dead to Raffine in the air. If they do block, they have no board. Both of these things are okay with me. Is it weird that we're somehow almost flooding here? Is it weird that we're, like, actually kind of flooding here?
I know there's a hero inside you.
Let's give you lifelink just to make me happier. Swing. Ooh, Lae'zel's interesting. Alright, well, then we're discarding a land. Discarding this land. And then we're going to play the Angel of Unity and buff the Lae'zel. And hold on to the Raffine to discard to the Lae'zel. Almost to the point where we can ultimate the Elspeth. That's a Dread hand. Oh, I guess I have lethal because I can make this thing fly, huh?
Let's do this together.
Doot, 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 doot. Alright, well. Somehow we curved out extremely well. Classic never didn't have it. We're getting some very variable levels of quality of testing data, huh? What have we learned today? As far as it goes for trying to figure out other decks is nonsense. That red-black and goblins are two of the matchups we're most concerned about, just by initial volume of playtesting. We've not seen anybody playing Cabaret Revel's combo piles so far. I want to try to build a control deck in this format, but that doesn't give me a lot of information to go with. How best... Is the best way to build a control deck, I guess, to just, like, main deck 4 copies of Lockdown? If those are pretty fine against goblins and pretty fine against red-black? Have we played against any other Esper decks today? No. We have not played against a single one. We have played against Red, black, red, black, red, green, red, black, red, black, red, 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 black, black. So the colors white and blue don't exist, and the color green existed exactly once. How did Gix's command pan out earlier? Very badly. Red-black has started playing a lot more 3-drop 3/3s, and even one of their 2-drops is a 3/2, Blood Death Harvester, which I kind of forgot about, so like it turns out it's not actually a board wipe against them, and it also was just really bad against Will. So like it turns out the card was just not particularly good, and Elspeth was significantly better and more synergistic with the game plan. Can I interest you in Lunarch, Veteran, and Cabaret Revels now that we have on-color Naya Painlands? That's true. The Painlands actually were a big gain for that deck, weren't they? That said, gosh, that deck is not, like, particularly exciting to play. I don't think it's bad. I think the Cabaret Revels Naya decks are, like, actively pretty good. I'm just... something about them is not... does not stoke my passion. I guess it's probably because it doesn't feel like they make a ton of decisions. Maybe that impression's wrong, but... but it doesn't look that way from the games I've played against them. Yeah, I think what I want to do next is try to figure out how to build a control deck. But red-black, like, sacrifice with diverse creature types and hard to manage different types of threats sounds like the worst possible thing to try to build a control deck to beat. I guess I could lean into Farewell. How do we handle Invoke Despair? Blowing up our lockdowns. Sucks that lockdown isn't a artifact. This isn't... oh, this has an Angel Immunity. Never mind, this hand's great. I was gonna say this hand isn't good, but I have to keep it and just hope we draw a blue source. But now that I realize that it has an Angel Immunity, I'm very excited about this hand. Oh, and then we draw the blue source. Alright, this hand's great. What were you all worried about? Battlefield Forge, huh? Okay. Guess we're just pumping Lae'zel is the goal. I don't know if on turn 2 I'm better off playing Diviner of Fates or Raffine. I want to make sure to maximize my chances of finding the 4th land for Lae'zel. So I guess the best thing to do would just be to draw the 4th land for Lae'zel, and then I just get to play the better card. I mean, I guess Diviner of Fates would have pumped Lae'zel. Maybe that was actually a consideration. But... yeah. I think it's actually better to put Diviner of Fates in the yard and then discard Raffine's Tower to Lae'zel later to bring it back. As opposed to discarding the Raffine's Tower, which doesn't put a counter on Angel, or discarding Viconia, which means if I guess I could discard the Diviner of Fates later to Raffine, and then discard the Raffine's Tower to Lae'zel to bring the Diviner back? But that's basically the same thing as functionally just putting it in the graveyard now. So we saw nothing. What do we think double Battlefield Forge cast 0 cards is? Because it would certainly imply it's an aggro deck, but they didn't do anything. They're playing 60 cards. Like, My gut instinct says board in Extraction Specialist against red-white aggro, but I don't feel like you miss land drops with red-white aggro, meaning you have 7 cards in hand, and none of them are castable with 2 mana. Could be Revels. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, they probably would have played creatures, yeah, but they might have had a hand of all green creatures? I still don't have a lot of good options for handling Revels, to be honest. Other than, I guess, Viconia can come out and Patriar's Humiliation can come in. And maybe that's our plan against Revels. Am I supposed to, in some world, bring in another Elspeth against Revels? I got no idea. Could be something like Feather, but what would that mean, because there isn't Feather? We'll keep this. This is sort of acceptable. I guess I have to name blue with this Crossroads in case I draw Diviner? Oh, Mardu. Come on, 2 drops. That's a 2-drop. We're in business. Blitz 2. What? Sorry, wait, what does this card do? When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature card in your hand without Blitz. Perpetually gains Blitz. The Blitz cost is equal to its mana cost. Blitz red black. Alright. I smell something afoot. What kind of combo shenanigans does the opponent have going on? What? Sanguine Brushstroke was not what I expected to play against after the double Battlefield Forge start. What? Blitz 7. That means you can't blitz this for 3, right? Right? I guess I could play it normally. But as a 3/3, I don't care, so... I guess I just tax Brushstroke? I guess? Oh yeah, I could see that being cute with Underdog. Make Underdog only cost 2 to blitz instead of 4. It's a cute synergy. Oh, it's got Menace too? Alright. That's respectable. I mean, I guess they gave this Blitz because they had nothing else to give Blitz to. So it's probably not the intended synergy in that case. Doinky 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 doink in life. Play the Sheoldred, gain more life. Hopefully don't have Sheoldred die. Opponent elects to keep the Sanguine Brushstroke in their hand. Oh, is it only on cards without Blitz? Is that true? Yeah, that's a bummer. Overwhelming Remorse. Well, that's really rude. Wow. Well, I think I'm gonna Klement into Raffine to put more counters on Angel of Unity. Is that true? I mean, that's a really big Anointed Peacekeeper, though. I should probably just play really big Anointed Peacekeepers. Especially in a world where Klement triggers Angel of Unity pumping Anointed Peacekeeper again. Alright, what are we stopping the opponent from doing today? Balduvian Atrocity. Blitz 2 and a black. Kicker red. Oh, okay, that's cute. Gets back a 3/1 Menace Haster. Also being a haste thing, and the sacrifice synergies, or the natural sacrifices, all kind of work with Sanguine Brushstrokes, I guess, is the idea. Balduvian, actually, you know what? No Balduvian. I don't care about Balduvian. We're just gonna name Overwhelming Remorse. I don't want my opponent top decking that. Everything else I feel comfortable is ignoring. Opponent down to 9. I have very large Peacekeepers. Phyrexian Fleshgorger will be scary eventually, but not yet. 2 Blood Artists for the purposes of blocking. Let's see. I feel like what I desire to do is gain a bunch of life. So we're going to do that. I would like to discard this Klement and get a little lifelink and lad. And then play this Raffine that now also has lifelink. And then attack with all of my creatures. And put some more counters on this creature that starts to gain lifelink. Or, you know, put a counter on that creature. That's fine too. Opponent has to chump block 2 things? No, they don't. They can chump block 1 thing and stay alive with 2 Blood Artist triggers if they chump block the 6/6. So they can keep 1 Blood Artist. I lose 2 life and gain 5 life, go to 16. Lose 2 life. Right, no, triggers go on the stack. I know how to play Magic. What are you talking about? See, the real trick is I make mistakes and say the wrong thing, so that way we bluff out anyone who's ghosting. So all of the completely inane, just utterly wrong things I say are actually strategic decisions. Elspeth plus flying was GG quicker. I mean, I struggled to think of a way that they were going to get out of that other than a board wipe that I guess they were playing white, so they could have been playing a board wipe. But assuming they board wiped us, I feel like Sheoldred was probably closer to lethal. Well, maybe not. I mean, I guess now that we did the math, and they had to double block to stay alive, and by double blocking they went to what? They gain 4, take 2 plus 3 is 5, puts them to 4, gain 4, puts them to 8, Well, actually, they would have had a pretty fair amount of life, so if they untapped and cast Farewell, then in that position I would have actually preferred Elspeth to Sheoldred. Yeah, that's true. I was kind of operating under the assumption that they would, if they survived, be at like 2 life, but that wasn't actually the case, looking back at the actual board state. Yeah, they take 5, gain 4, and I think they started the turn at 9, if I recall correctly. Oh yeah, Elspeth was not in hand, so we couldn't play it that turn. I'm assuming that they were talking about keeping the Elspeth rather than keeping the Sheoldred, which, yeah, probably was right. Probably was right to keep the Elspeth. Alright, team. Well, we played 11 matches against red and or black and or green. And we lost 2 of them against red-black while playing the version that I decided wasn't good enough against red-black. And we lost 1 game other than those 2 matches. This deck continues to be pretty decent. But also this data continues to be a little muddled by... I don't remember how many of those matches weren't real matches. What do you think of this Tamaqul Phoenix in a red shell? What is a Tamaqul Phoenix, and what are red decks? Is that like Grixis? I shouldn't change this. That's gonna mess with Arena. I should look it up here. Tamaqul Phoenix. 1 red, 2/2 flying haste. When it dies, perpetually gets +2/+2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay X red, where X is Tamaqul Phoenix's power. If you do, return it to graveyard from your graveyard to the battlefield. Is that fine? It's fine. That's definitely fine. Is it good? I don't know. I mean, so if it's a 3-mana 2/2, I guess it's a pretty good threat against control decks. If you're trying to do like an attrition thing, you know, it's not very good against Wandering Emperor, though, is it? It's not good? Okay. I was gonna say, like, I don't think this card is without function. Like, this to me reads like a card that fills a hole if red is just totally missing an effect and not something that's, like, actively exciting. It reminds me of the Phoenix that had Escape. That was just like a 3-mana 2/2 haster that could get +2 power for 3 mana. In that, like, it's not exciting, but could be grindy, I guess. Phoenix of Ash. No, that was the Morph one, right? Oh, no, it's Phoenix of Ash. What's the one I'm thinking of that's the Morph one? That's not even on Arena. Ash Cloud Phoenix. Okay, alright. Did have Ash in the name, and Phoenix in the name, so I was reasonably close. Yeah, Phoenix of Ash was a decent card. Although, I believe it was actually mostly good because of rogues, if I recall correctly. Not even against control, although it came in against control. So, I mean, again, if circumstances are right, I could see it being similar to Phoenix of Ash, but I wouldn't see it being, like, better than that strongly. We just have pretty efficient ways to spend our mana these days, and there is a lot less marginal utility to be gained from more mana sinks. Yeah, Escape actually removing cards from your graveyard was a pretty big upside against rogues. Now, to be fair, most decks just opted to play Ox of Agonis instead for that purpose, but I think the sideboarding setup out of the red decks that played Phoenix also were bringing it in against Sultai Ultimatum, if I recall correctly, which was like fine. I don't know. I'm attempting to recall things using my memory, and that is a dubious prospect at the best of times. Doodly doo. Alright. I think we're going to call it there for the stream.